Good afternoon. We are so excited that you are here. We are super excited about all the things that we have added into EduSmart to help your teachers prep for STAR. We're calling this STAAReady with EduSmart. And what the biggest thing that we want you to walk away with is knowing that EduSmart is always here, making sure to provide quality instruction, science materials for your teachers, making their life just a little bit easier for them to be able to meet kids where they're at and help them with their actual understanding and mastery. So we want to make sure we thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, please add them to the chat. We are super, super happy to show you everything that we have created. So looking at EduSmart, looking at STAAReady, so what I want to do today is I want to make sure I go over a thing about the day in the life of. So how we see this playing out in your classroom as a teacher. We want to go over what needs to happen before the STAR review actually begins with data collection and grouping your students accordingly. And then what will the actual review look like in a day in the class of? So we'll go over what the bell ringers, pathway breakouts, and exit tickets look like. And then we want to make sure that we're providing enough information for you to know that you're going to have all of the data that you could possibly need and progress monitoring so that we can keep up with our students and make sure we're meeting them where they're at. And then we definitely want to make sure we're providing a question and answer opportunity at the end as well. So like I said, if you have questions, please make sure you put them in the chat. We will definitely make stopping points and ask questions as needed. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So these are currently these are the standards. Let me rephrase that. These are the standards that are included in your STAAReady program for EduSmart. So basically what we have done is we have gone in and we have basically taken all our TEA documents that have gone in and said, these are the new TEKs. And this is specifically what we're testing this year. Of course, next year will be a little different and we'll make edits for them too. But we want you to know the rationale behind this. We recognize that teachers really need to dive deep because it's all about showing growth, right? So we need to show growth for all of our students. So that is what we're looking at doing. So for each one of these standards, we have created 3 playlists for you to use with your students. We want to make sure that teachers are still involved because who better to help their students than the teacher who is with them day in and day out and they know their strengths and weaknesses. So along with data and the teacher, we are pretty sure that you're going to see some success here. So for every one of these standards, like I said, we have 3 pathways, and I'll go into that in just a minute. So 5th grade standards, 8th grade standards are a little out of hand, if you ask me. There's 29 of them. And so again, we have 3 pathways for every single one of these standards. And then biology end of course exams. So all of these are also going to be covered in our STAAReady program. All right, so let's look at just one specific one. So for all intents purposes, we want to kind of keep everyone on the same page. So let's pretend that we all teach 5th grade and we're all going to be looking at what a lesson's going to look like if we are reviewing 5-6A properties of matter. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we have to think about, all teachers need a good toolkit. And teachers need new tools, old tools. We need to make sure we're all using them. So what you have in your quick start guide is all of your tools. So we have training materials. We offer a scope and sequence that offer a 10-day plan for STAAReady, a 15-day plan for STAAReady, and then all of them. If you have plenty of ample time and you can cover all of the standards, then we totally can do that for you as well. We also offer bell ringers and exit tickets that I'm going to explain a little bit. We offer plans for quick reference for teachers, kind of recognizing what exactly is in every single pathway, as well as what do they need to print versus what answer keys do they need to pull. And then we do offer full-length STAR practice tests. So we recognize that a lot of districts do offer benchmark tests, but we do have 2 full-length STAR practice tests that would be amazing to use as a pre-test and a post-test. And then we are also offering extension activities. So let's look at a few of those tools that I've offered. In the LMS, you're going to go to STAAReady. It's going to be right there. You can toggle between 5th grade, 8th grade, and then biology will be right here. It's still going through a little quality control. So let's go ahead and look at 5th grade. So we go to quick start guides, and here are all those materials I was just showing you. The scope and sequence is super helpful because, like I said, TEA has basically gone in and taken parts of the TEK out and said, we're not testing this part of the TEK this year. So what we've done is we've gone in and made sure that you know specifically what is being tested. Now, we did create a 10-day plan, a 15-day plan, and then a plan if you're covering all the standards. So if you click on 10 days, it will show you that these are the TEKs that we think were the most important to cover in a 10-day plan without looking at your specific data. Now, this is just simply based on the frequency distribution list that we have, the state and others have put out, telling us this question has been asked this many times. So it's very likely we're going to see it again. And then also taking into account the actual reporting category scores for the state. So we're actually considering all of that when we created this plan. So if you have 10 days, these are the TEKs we suggest reviewing with your students. Now, again, if you go into your benchmark and you go in and look and you think that something else belongs here, then by all means, we're just trying to make life a little bit easier for you. But if that's what you need, then that's what you that's what we need to cover, and we have it built for you. All right. So 10-day plans, 15-day plans. And then if I'm going to teach and review renewable and non-renewable resources, I can click it. It's going to tell me specifically what that TEK is. It's going to give me essential questions. It's going to go through and give me suggested SEP and RTC connections through those playlists that we're offering, and then the vocabulary words that go with them. So what you need to understand is then we can go right back to it. 15 days, electricity, and do the same thing over. So this is just kind of giving you a bird's eye view of what the TEK is and some additional help. What teachers have really found super helpful is the actual STAAReady plans. The STAAReady plans will actually give them an overview of what a day would look like. So a bell ringer, pathway lessons, what is in every pathway, and then their exit ticket and what they're going to need to prep. So if they go in and look at the standards, they can simply click on a standard. It's going to tell them exactly what's being tested, and then it's going to tell them what is in every pathway. So it's going to tell them what they need to do. We're also listing the extras because we recognize that some kids are going to go through it like that. They're going to get it, or they may need further progress and practice. So what we are offering are extras, telling you, hey, these are things we didn't use in the pathways. If you need more, if your students need more, here are the offerings that we have. And then if you notice here, this is bolded in purple. What I've done here is we have bolded the pathway data collection. How are we collecting data for that specific pathway? That is bolded in purple for you. Click back to the standards and it goes back, so I can keep going back and forth and looking at every single lesson to see what we're doing. Now, let's go back and look at our PowerPoint and talk a little bit more about these pathways that I keep speaking about. So before class, we're going to definitely go in and look at all the standards and narrow it down. So it's super easy when we go in, now that we've narrowed down the standards for every student and what they need to focus on, we're going to simply go in and assigning it as simple as pulling up the standard we're going to study. We're going to click assign. Then it's going to pop up. You can assign by groups, subgroups, or students. Since we really are differentiating by students, you are going to want to click that students button and move them over that way. And then you're going to select a date range, depending on if this is really truly meant to be a classroom lesson, then maybe just keeping it to 1 or 2 days. Or if you just want them to complete it before STAAR, then that can be your date range as well. And just like that, we're done. So here comes class time. It's the beginning of class. The first 5 minutes of class, you're going to project a bell ringer for the whole group to complete while taking attendance. Now, that bell ringer is really awesome because something that we've discovered with a lot of our teachers that we've talked to is the graphic, that data interpretation and analysis is really one of those things that students are struggling with. And so what you're going to have in your daily bell ringer is a STAAR formatted daily practice questions with graphs, charts, and other graphics. So it's not just that simple rote memorization. STAAR does not do that anymore, right? So we have a bell ringer. We have kids for the first couple of minutes going in and answering the question on their own. And then we present the answers. We discuss it. We have a great conversation, making sure students understand the right answer and they understand how we got there. All right. So now that we've done our daily bell ringer, let's look at the pathways. So our pathways are built as a does not meet, we need to move them up to approaches. And with that, we're going to do a direct instruction and a hands-on activity. For our pathway 2, those approaches, we need to move up to meet. We're going to do a collaborative lesson and have digital tools and learning that way. And then our third pathway is that independent study, that kid who's at meets or at masters and needs to move up to masters or maintain masters. So those students are going to be doing independent study. So ultimately what this would look like in a classroom, if I'm doing this in my class time, is I'm going to have a small group with me. I'm going to be doing hands-on and direct instruction with them. Over on the other side of my classroom, I might have 2 and 3 students working together, collaborating. And then pathway 3 would be on the other side, and they'll be doing independent study all on their own. Computers would more likely need to be at at pathway 2 and pathway 3. Pathway 1 is completely hands-on and teacher directed, so computers are not necessary in pathway 1. Pathway 1, for students who need that focused support and concrete fundamental concepts relearning, we are making sure that we're doing a hands-on lab, other user-friendly format, and we have teachers teaching directly from the instruction module. Okay. Pathway 2 is a collaborative learning and digital tools. So we're pulling in a simulation, or we're pulling in an interactivity, word explorer, something to make sure our kids are actively engaged and relearning and reviewing that concept mastery. And then finally, pathway 3 is the independent study and advanced practice. For those students who are naturally driven, they're already up there, they totally are working towards it, but we have to show growth, right? We can't forget those top students. So we want to make sure that they are still showing growth with their independent study. So we're going to make sure they're completing student reviews and they're completing the unit test that has the higher depth of knowledge questions built in with it, all right? Now, let's go back and look at the actual students that we're going to be considering for this lesson. So the main activity. So we started out with that 5-minute bell ringer, and now we're going to go into the main activity. So let's meet Alex. Alex could be any student in your classroom. You've gone and you've looked at that standard and you're like, wow, Alex is going to be that did not meet. We need to move him into approaches. We need to show growth. We need to make sure he's on the right track. So you're going to start out with a pathway 1 for Alex. And it's going to be a teacher-led intervention with a hands-on activity. They're going to watch the instruction module with teacher direction and conversation. And then students, and then once the students finish, if they finish early, because of the way that we've built our pathways, students can then move on to pathway 2 and then move on to pathway 3. These are stackable pathways. We are not going to repeat any of those activities in the other pathways or the way that we're doing them in scaffolding. So Alex's lesson would look like this. So we're going to first do our instruction module. I'm going to have a really great conversation with my small group. We're going to talk about what is everything around us made of. We're going to have a great lesson in that way. We're going to review the information that's necessary. Then we're going to break into our hands-on activity. So you'll see here, this is actually pathway 1, 4, 5, 6A. And so we have our review, we have our lab activity. Some teachers prefer to do hands-on, then instruction module, then lab. That's totally up to them. Teachers are able to drive the lesson as they see fit. So we're going to do our lab. And then remember, all of our EduSmart labs do have CERs connected to them now. So we're definitely going to want to make sure our students practice that claim, evidence, and reasoning to work towards that analytical thinking and focus on the way they're doing their short answer responses. And then they're going to do a depth of knowledge 1 exit ticket. So this exit ticket is separate from later on in the class when they do an overall class exit ticket. This one is specifically meant for me to be able to pull the data. Did my student walk away understanding the bulk of this lesson? So this exit ticket is meant for pathway 1's data consumption. All right. So now let's meet Beth. Beth is going to be my child who's at approaches, and I can move her up to meet with a little bit of work. So I'm going to pair Beth with a couple of students, maybe a high-low pairing. I'm going to pair her. We're going to have them log in to the EduSmart LMS to access their playlist. They're going to watch the IM together, discussing the questions relating to information that they already know, background knowledge, connecting real-world science themes to real-world connections. They're going to complete a printed IMC companion guide. They're going to perform a digital activity like an interactivity, and then they're going to take the 10-question quiz. Now, I know what you're thinking, 10 questions in a pathway 3. Our quizzes are built in a depth of knowledge 1 and 2 in the quizzes, whereas our tests are 2 and 3 later on. So for Meet Beth, we're going to want to take that kid who's in the approaches and move them up to meets, and that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to look at doing the instruction module as a small group, collaborative learning, 2 to 3 students. They're going to do their instruction module, that close-ended, and the graphic organizer, where we put all of our knowledge into it. They're going to work together. And then they're going to do some sort of simulation together, walking through the actual activity. And then they're going to take that quiz, the depth of knowledge level 1. These questions are not as STAAR-ready or STAAR-like as our test questions are. So it's kind of still building them up and scaffolding them to a higher level. And then finally, let's meet Carter. Carter is going to be your needs to move up to masters or maintains masters. So Carter is going to complete the digital activity and student reviews. He's going to take the 5-question test. And then if he finishes early, he can move on and do the extension activity. Okay, so what that looks like is they're going to have some kind of digital activity, whichever has not been done in pathway 2 will now be done in pathway 3. So if I did a simulation in pathway 2, we're going to do an interactivity in pathway 3. They're going to do the interactivity on their own independently. They're going to complete their student reviews, which does give teacher data back. And then they're going to take their test. So again, pathway 1 used a depth of knowledge 1 exit ticket. Pathway 2 uses the quiz as the data collection. And then pathway 3 is using the unit test as their pathway data collection. So then at the end of class, less than 10 minutes left, I'm going to project the exit ticket journal question on the board for the class to complete. Allow about 5 minutes for students to write their responses in their science journal, sticky note, index card, and then you can discuss the exemplar answer with students. I know we're giving students the answers. However, we really want students to evaluate their own responses, because once they start recognizing what they're missing, they're more likely to add it in the next time. So these are really great as data collection. However, it's also teaching students the actual process of writing a short constructed response, which is very important, as we learned last year with the STAAR test. All right. Are there any questions so far? I talk really fast. I'm sorry.
There's none in chat, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Then we will keep going. So when's that exit?
Wait,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes.
Is there a time frame to this?
It depends on your district's needs. So some districts have told me, oh, we've put off 4 weeks for this. Well, then they can fill in the 4 weeks with all the standards that's necessary. The pathway is generally meant to be 1 class period. Okay. So you're covering a standard a day.
A day. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, time-wise. Okay.
Yes, time-wise. Time-wise, we foresee doing a standard per day. Now, obviously, if you have kids doing pathway 2 and 3, then that's going to take a little bit more time, because every pathway is considered to be about a 30-minute lesson. All right, good question.
And we did have one about bilingual, or the resources bilingual.
So it depends on K through 5. So our 5th grade resources are bilingual, but they're not built in the playlist that way. But everything that is on the playlist can be done in bilingual as well. Good question. Colleen, I think maybe we might want to consider that in building those Spanish versions as well.
Yeah, it was 5th grade that he was asking about.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. Good so far. All right. Then once we've gotten past, and now all of our data is coming in, we're going to have data as a progress monitoring. So you're able to see your students, and according to their TEKS, if they're mastering it, if they're meeting it, if they're approaching and did not meet. So this is a really great way of a running report. So that way, you know, okay, if a student is still not moving up the level, then we can do a post-test, a pre-test using the STAAR test. We can also use our reporting category test. And then we can also go in, and on the STAAR plans, we actually have listed some extras. So these are things that we did not include in the pathways. They can go back and do the extras, or we can move into an extension activity. Okay, so our progress monitoring is going to be available for all of this. as well as, so this student has taken pathway 2, and this is what that report would look like. So you will actually see, I did it, so don't judge the child. So it's only a 0 minutes because I did it. You can actually see exactly what they've gone in and done, the interactivity, and then the EduSmart quiz. So you can actually see how quickly they've done it and the grade that they made on it. And then pathway 3, same idea here. You can actually see how many lifelines they used in their word explorer, their grade. Anytime you see an arrow moving up, it means it will break down the information even farther. So you can see every question that they answered and the answer choices they made. All right. So all of this will be able to be seen through your data reporting. Something else too, like we talked about earlier, there are opportunities for STAAR 2.0 item question types built into every facet of our program. So they're going to have hotspot questions, multi-part questions, SCRs like we've talked about, drag and drop, text entry, and multi-select. So all of these things are great practice for not just your science test, but also for all the other STAAR tests that they're going to come into contact with. So it's really great for all grade levels, not just your STAAR tested subjects as well.
Okay, so Drea, here's another question from Sheila Chambers. You may have answered this already, but do the students take a test to determine the pathways?
So if your district has not done a benchmark or some kind of overall testing, you can completely, absolutely use our testing to do that. The progress monitoring would be available for those STAAR tests. So if you wanted to assign STAAR test A or STAAR test B to your students as a pre-test, you could completely do that, analyze that data, and then choose the pathways from there. Yes, we do have that. We also recognize that districts have their own benchmarks in their data as well. So we don't want to say you have to use it, but we definitely have amazing STAAR practice tests. And if you haven't looked at it, you definitely should. They are really well written. They are not really STAAR tests because we want teachers to still have the ability to use those STAAR questions as well. Teachers need everything in the toolkit, right? And so they're not STAAR release questions. They are written by EduSmart based on the STAAR test.
And then what is the difference between test A and B?
There's not one. I actually do have a data showing which TEKs are tested, but there's not really a difference. It's not like a leveling difference. It's just 2 opportunities to take the test. Okay. And we can show you that breakdown and show you, like, it will actually break down and tell you depth of knowledge in that question, the TEK it's covering, and then it'll also tell you if it's a hotspot or a multi-select or things like that. The test cannot be printed because of those wacky new STAAR 2.0 questions that have the hotspot, the drag and drop, things like that. So they really can't be printed. We have talked about maybe like teachers doing snippets and kind of being able to print it out to show TM students, but right now they're not printable because of the way they're written. The tests are located. Great question. Sorry, Jerry, I cut you off there, didn't I?
No.
The tests are actually, so if you have access to to EduSmart already, you can actually find it in 2 places in STAAReady. So when we go into STAAReady, they're actually right here, full length STAAR practice tests, 2 of them, and they are full length. And so you can actually access them from here. They look just like the STAAR test. We launch quiz. They're going to have all of the same accommodations built in as they would for STAAR testing. So they're read aloud, things like that. So you'll actually see that you can save as they're going along, go full screen. Actually, I can pull that out. Review, accessibility, things like that. They do not have the check answer button there. That's just for us and for you as the teacher. So they have many different ways of going through and looking at, you can utilize all of these options. So fill in the blanks. So here's our hotspot ideas, right? So you can access them from STAARsmart, or in your content library in 5th grade or 8th grade. You can actually go in, and in 5th grade, you'll actually see it on the main page for 5th grade and 8th grade, full-length STAAR practice tests. And then, friends, if you do have access to EduSmart, before I forget, in your reporting categories, we released this in the beginning of January. We had them last year, but we had to change them, obviously, for the new TEKs. So we do have the reporting category test as well. So if you're looking for something else to help you out, the reporting category tests are also excellent pieces to use with your students. They also are built just like the STAARsmart test. with really great options for the visuals as well. So 2 STAAR Smart tests, as well as the reporting, as well as 4 reporting category tests are available for you.
the 5-question
And the 5-question unit test that
test.
we built into the pathways. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Hi, I have a question. So our campus does have EduSmart, and I just pulled it up to check on it, and I don't have the STAAReady tab in there at the top where it says the content library. Do you
This is not there for you right now.
know?
What grade level do you teach?
5th grade,
Okay. What district are you in?
A-Leaf.
Okay. Jerry, do we know what's going on?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, we do know what's going on. Please,
Okay.
what you have to do is go to the upper right and log out and log back in. It didn't refresh. That's what we've
Okay.
been finding with the users in A-Leaf. That's been happening.
Okay.
So try that, and if you don't mind, try it during this meeting if you get the chance, and stay on afterwards, and I'll make sure I troubleshoot with you otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, we did just
The
roll it out
only-
on Monday.
Yeah, the only issue is because it's through our class link, so it's our sign on. So I'll have to dig to see what our login is because it preloads it already.
Oh, so yeah,
Gotcha.
that's if you had time after this meeting, otherwise I will schedule a Zoom with you in the morning if that's okay.
Okay.
Would that be okay to just email you and set up a Zoom with you for the morning?
Well, in the morning I'm teaching class.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sometime
You work
tomorrow.
for a living? Strange.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
that's how it
troubleshoot
looks
and see
like.
what I can do. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Gregory's showing us.
Yeah, I'm showing the screen. This is 5th grade. You see, there is no.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kuberkov.
Melanie, your question, if the TEK's assigned to each practice test question, what can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, I'm looking at a question right now. So for a teacher, we have new teachers, so I'm looking at this one and it's talking about mullocks and moon phases and all this stuff. So is there a TEK assigned to it that they would be able to go and look at it and be better associated with it to know what they're supposed to be looking at?
Yes, ma'am. I can just pull that up for you real quick because I do have it.
Because I was clicking buttons and I didn't see it.
Don't you love when we just click buttons to find buttons to find? You don't need to see that. Okay. So this is our 5th grade STAAR breakdown for test A and test B, and it's probably really small for you. I'm sorry.
So when they get all done, it shows up?
No, when the teacher goes into, let me get this right, my groups,
Okay.
they don't always give me the good data. I had the good data when I was still teaching though. And they can go into item analysis report. That's actually where I found mine.
Okay.
So they can actually go in, and when the student has actually completed the STAAR practice tests, they can actually break it down here. And so it's going to show them their standard, their depth of knowledge.
I got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, Carolyn just said she was able to get the STAAReady tab when logged out and then logged back in. Thank you.
Great.
Gotta love technology sometimes, don't we? All right. So in order to make sure everybody is getting what they need and we don't hold anybody beyond what they don't need, let me finish up. So these are just a couple of places that you can find those STAAR 2.0 alternate item types that you can actually, it's low risk, right? So they're not in a test. They're literally in our Word Explorer, in the readers, activities, all of these places you can find those STAAR 2.0 question types. I love that just because it's low risk. So sometimes that student's anxiety is going to cause them to not do so hot. And this allows them that free reign to do a low risk practice with those things. All right. And then, so are you STAAReady? If you are not already subscribed to EduSmart, if you would like to reach out and find out how to get pricing or quotes, we are happy to help you. If you have any questions after you leave this, you can take a screenshot real quick, but most of you know at least one of us on here that can help you. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out. We are always happy to help you. We are here to make your lives and your teachers' lives easier because teaching is truly a work of art, and we always want to make sure we're supporting you in that work. All right. Any questions?
Yes, Andrea. Do you know if next year this will be available in Spanish for all of the components, not just pieces, but the entire thing?
You mean for just a regular subscription?
Yes.
For K through 5, it already is. Are you asking for middle school?
No. Just
Okay,
so I'm talking about for the star.
Oh, for the star playlist to be
Mhm,
in
mhm,
Spanish.
mhm.
That is a really great. Nobody had actually requested that. So I mean, it's really great to hear feedback, and we will definitely consider thinking about that because it's already built. It's just about putting them into a playlist. So
Mhm.
I'm sure we could work something out with that if there's a need for it.
Okay.
Our boss is pretty amazing when he recognizes the need, and there's people who really do need and want it. Then we're pretty good about building it for them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Ms. Adams, yes, ma'am, if you will email myself, Andrea@edusmart.com, I will send this presentation to you if you'd like. Yes, happy to help. All right, guys. Well, if there are no other questions, you are free to go. We will be sending you, Jerry, where'd Jerry go? Jerry, we are sending the recording if they want it.
Okay, is it,
that correct?
yeah, I think that it goes out to all our registrants actually.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, if you want us to come or set up a presentation for other people in your district, let us know as well, and we can set that up as well.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much for giving us your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it.
Bye, Theo.